Hey, welcome to another update on Archmage Rises, and it's been a month, but I can tell you that Archmage Rises is the greatest role-playing game ever to be made, and pretty soon we hope to release it. Actually, that sounded like a promise of something. I don't have a date yet, but the game's coming along amazingly, and I'm excited, so hopefully that's what you get from it. Okay, so couple of things to talk about. Two big things to talk about. I'm going to talk about designing the game. First I want to talk about the combat stuff. So the team has been working really hard on the combat, and that is been great. We now have 4 full-time people working on this game. I was just reflecting on how much time have we spent on combat. It's been well, we've been working on it since January, and now we are here at the beginning of April. So it's been in 3 full months. But when you have 4 people working on it, that's like a year. What we've accomplished would have taken me a year by myself. So it's great to have a team of 4 working on this thing, plus the artist, sound, and other people. But 4 full-timers, and so we're making a lot of progress. So what does that mean? I want to show you. I'm not going to in this video, but I want to show you what we have done for combat, and it fulfills all the promises that we made a year ago when I showed you the design documents. But when I say I want to show it to you, it means we're going to make a special build of Archmage Rises that is basically a combat gauntlet. And when you launch it up, it brings you straight into combat, and we have different combat scenarios that allow you to try out different features of the combat system. So lighting the ground on fire and raising up boulders and dropping them on people's heads and trying out one of the 50 new spells that are included. Yes, we have a lot of spells, and we don't have all the spell effects. I recently just hired somebody to do visual effects, and anyway, we're working to get this thing. So we're going to release a combat-only build that allows you to try it out, give us feedback, tell us what you don't like, what you do like, and then we are going to continue to work on the combat and get it integrated throughout the rest of the game. So there's kind of like 2 parts. Does the combat engine work by itself, and then integrating it into the larger game? So next week, this is your warning. Next week, Friday, we are going to launch the Combat Gauntlet build. And I think I'll just leave it on the test branch of Archmage Rises on Steam. So those that want to opt into it can play it, see what it's all about. And so we are close enough on finishing combat in order to give that to you. So you want to get it in your hands, see what you think. As it stands right now, as it stood at the beginning of this week, there was over 100 bugs. So what does that say? Well, if we were to take a Donald Trump approach, we would say, wow, our testing is so good. Look at all the bugs that we found, because our testing is so improved. I don't know, maybe that means we're moving too quickly or making too many bugs. But anyway, the good news is we found 100 bugs, so you don't have to find those bugs. And we are busily working to resolve those. Some of them were really took like a long time. I think Michael spent better part of a week working on one bug, so that's a lot. Anyways, we managed to close out 30 of them, so we're now sitting at 70. So are we going to be able to finish all 70 by next Friday? Maybe. Maybe. If there's only 10 or something, they're probably really obscure and may not affect anybody. So anyways, we're going to push hard, and I think I would rather be certain that we're getting a release out on Friday, and if there happen to be some small obscure bugs, whatever. I'm not going to push something out with big bugs, bad bugs. So that's what you have to look forward to for next week. Now, what I'm doing personally is I'm working on finishing the design document to the game. And maybe if you're new to finding out about Archmage, you're like, shouldn't you have had a design document for this game, like over the 7 years that you've worked on it? Yeah, I've had design documents about the game and on specific aspects of the game, but I've never had a design document on like the whole game. In fact, there is a series of feature lists that I put on the initial website, the very first website. Right now we're on like website number 3, but the very first website, I put out a series of feature lists, and that's still been the guiding principle to what are we making in this game. And there's some, I don't know, 15, 20 features that I listed out. And so I am now doing the hard work of really explaining and expanding out what does that feature look like. So a quick example of golems, the ability to create a golem. What does that mean? What does it look like? What are the resources that are necessary in making that? So somebody needs to figure that out before we can even estimate the work. So we are busy working on that. A lot of design discussions that are happening, which you will be invited into. And all that to say that it comes down to looking at all the features of the game, features that I have promised, features that I have had when I go out on a long walk and I'm like, oh, this would be really great in Archmage. Getting all those features down, and then I have 4 decisions to make. Okay, so for any indie game developers out there, this is the hard stuff. 4 decisions. You have to run a feature through 4 decisions. Do I keep it? So that means I can't release the game without it. And that could be because of promise that I made in a video on a website. That could be it's integral to the experience of being there, of the simulator, living in a living, breathing world. Or it's really going to help sales. Like a good combat system or gargoyles. I mean, I could cut the gargoyles, but I think the gargoyles are great. I love gargoyles in Ultima 6. So there's gargoyles in this game. This game is not shipping without gargoyles. Okay, so that's the keep list. So I have to figure out what's the keep list. The second thing that I have to do is have to decide what can I release with, but it doesn't have to be, I don't have to hold back the release of it. I can do it after the day of release, when 1.0 finally ships. And that is the free update list. And there is nobody better at the free update list than Eric Barone working on Stardew Valley. So Stardew Valley continues to push out these amazing, fully featured updates. Now, it probably helped the guy sold over 1 million units. And it only took him to make it. It was one guy. And so the, I don't know, 20, 30, 50 million dollars or whatever that has come through. I guess he has a publisher. I don't know how much they take. But anyway, it only took one guy in order to make it, so he's able to put these things out on free updates. And that's what we are going to do. I already have plans, staff allocations for pushing out these free updates. So something that I really want in the game. I don't feel like the game experience is complete without it. Now, do I have to hold up the release of the game for that feature? Maybe only 10-15% of our players will actually use and engage with that feature. That to me means free update. I don't have to hold up the release of the game, but I do want it in there, so we're just going to give it to you for free after the release date. Okay, if the feature doesn't make it for keep or free, then we look at it in terms of DLC. Is this something that, you know, it's a bunch of work, it's not necessary, it sure would be cool, would people pay for it? Is that something that, if we put the time into it, that somebody would be willing to pay $2, $3, $4, $5, $7 for it? DLC. So we would make that DLC. And I've already told you that there's 2 DLCs that we are already planning. One of them is kind of the Necromancer, Evil Dead way of doing things, and the second is to add additional races like elves and dwarves to it. So those are 2 DLCs that we already have planned. There's like 3 or 4 more that I had planned out when I was in talks with a publisher of like, hey, here's where we can go with this thing. So anyways, if I can't do it for free because of how much time or effort or whatever it's going to take, then can I do it as DLC? If I can't keep it, free it, DLC it, then I have to cut it. And so those are the 4 things that a feature is going through. So that's why I'm busy working on design documents so that I can do that. So 2 examples. The first is world generation options. So these are just things from this week that I've been working on. World generation options. So can I release the game without giving players any world generation options? I think no. I think that you need to have some options for controlling your world. Something that came up this week was, can we have a difficulty selector so that we have kind of like a story mode where maybe all the enemies have minus 50% HP and do minus 50% damage, and you just kind of the combat is all there, but it's really like diminished. And then can we have like a hardcore mode where it's already a hardcore game being permadeath, but a hardcore where there's a boost to all of the monsters' HP and damage. And I think the highest one, the highest setting for difficulty is the GM hates me. I don't know if any of you felt that way, but anyways, the game GM is going to hate you, and so I think we need to launch with those kinds of selections. Choosing whether it's the world generator is island, continent, one big lonely mountain in the center, and it's just one big giant island. I think we should release with that. But then there's the noble houses, and whether which noble houses are included in a particular generation, and what historical characters, items are included. That's starting to get really specific and really advanced. I don't think I need to hold up the release of the game for that. So giving you more world generation options or advanced world generation options, I would do that as a free update. I don't think anybody's going to pay for that. I don't think you need to pay for that. So it's not DLC. I don't want to cut it. I don't think it's that much work. It's just, is it work that needs to be done before release? So that goes into the free update slot. Okay, second thing is having kids. Having kids in the game is a lot of work. And am I going to hold up the release of the game so that you have the ability to have children? I don't know. I haven't decided on that one yet. I kind of want to say no, but our current trailer on Steam says, hey, you're in combat 9 months pregnant, right? So how can I have you're 9 months pregnant, but you can't actually have a kid? So I may need to do that one in order to fulfill the promise that I made there. So that is not something that having kids is really integral. I'm not going to cut it. I don't feel like it should be DLC. So I think it's either a keep or a free update, or some of the features are in keep and then the rest of them are in a free update, something like that. So those are two examples of things that came up this week that I need to kind of work through. I have a goal to finish my design document and figuring out the specifics of all these things, right? It's really easy to have a thing on the whiteboard, having kids. What does that mean in terms of gameplay? What are the interactions that you're having? What does this child do autonomously when you're not around? And there's a lot to figure it out. So that's like what's happening. Okay, and last but not least, for those who are old-time gamers like me, if you remember Origin Systems, We Create Worlds, what a great company. Loved Ultima and Wing Commander and even Strike Commander and Crusader No Remorse. Origin was awesome. I was just telling the guys, because I got a bunch of 20-year-olds that work here with me, I was just telling them, like, you don't get it, man. Like, Origin was the Blizzard of the 90s and, late 80s. Like, they were amazing. They put out stuff that was incredible. And actually, that thing really holds up because they were the ones that created Ultima Online. And then Blizzard was like, hey, that's cool. Let's make that. So, anyway, so there is a new book that just came out called Through the Moongate, and it tracks the history of Richard Garriott and Origin and Ultima and Wing Commander and all these things, and it interviews all the people that were there, and it's very good. It's a very good book. And so the first part was released, I don't know, a year and a half ago, and the second part on Kindle just released 2 weeks ago, a week ago, something like that. Anyways, I've really been enjoying reading that, and I thought for those who love the history, the golden age of Origin. Oh, I can't believe I didn't mention Ultima Underworld. Holy cow, wasn't Ultima Underworld amazing? So sad that the new Underworld game is not very good. But anyway, Ultima Underworld, I was there, 386, DX 25, running Ultima Underworld, blown away. It was awesome. So that book came out, and if you're interested in game history or you were there in those times, you want to know behind the scenes, it's a great book. So you can check that out. That's it for this week, and hopefully I will be giving you another update next week, because I'm going to be launching the Gauntlet for you guys to try out. So we'll see you then.